Good morning, everyone. It is December 7th, half an hour before the market's going to open. Yesterday, we saw how the Nasdaq is bouncing. We're still chopping sideways in the S&P 500. We're just really going to be looking for clues that that's going to continue. Are we going to continue chopping sideways in the S&P? Or do we still have full upward momentum in the Nasdaq? So let's go ahead and take a look at our futures. Looks like Nasdaq is up pretty, significantly, about 0.5%, and the S&P about 0.25%. So S&P not quite beyond random yet, but it is getting there. If we get continued momentum upwards, then that will be just a tad beyond random. And then the Dow is lagging behind, actually down slightly, basically zero. No change in the Dow. Let's see how that developed this morning. Okay, so this looks a lot like yesterday. Actually, if we look at yesterday over, where am I? Why do I not see it? Okay. Yesterday, we were flat. We hit that 530 mark, and then we started going up into the open. So today, we are super flat. And then when we hit 530, we started moving higher. So this is so far looking like a repeat of yesterday. Yesterday, of course, we had downward movement in the S&P 500, but in the Nasdaq, I think we were NQ. I think we were up or just barely down. Okay, so we were down yesterday as well. So this could, if this is going to follow the same pattern, then we may be setting ourselves up for a downward movement. That doesn't feel right. Let me just verify that. SPY. Yesterday, we were down 0.4% because we started up very high and then we were down 0.4%. And then in the QQQ, we started out very high and then we ended up down 0.58%. Okay, so that was correct. So we are looking to open higher, but not at an extreme high like yesterday. Yesterday, our open, that was a gap up open. And today, we're not looking like that. So it is a different pattern in terms of a daily chart. It is the same pattern in terms of an intraday chart. So I'm not going to expect the same thing. I'm not going to expect a huge downward movement because we didn't have that gap up. So this surge upwards, it's interesting that we got very similar patterns over the last couple of days. So I want to see what happened in the economic reports. So yesterday we had international trades and services, or goods and services. This morning we had jobless claims. We also had the ADP report yesterday. So let's take a quick look at that because those are both employment related. So ADP is a private report, and then jobless claims and the employment situation would be a government report. So according to private data, it looks like we have decreased in the employment. Yeah, we decreased in employment. And then we have jobless claims, which increased, but came in below consensus. So both of those together, if I have a decrease in employment, that means probably that it's either going to be that people are quitting or that employers are not hiring or they're letting people go, which means they don't need as many people. If we have more people looking for jobs, and then if the employment situation supports that number where there's less jobs available, then that is deflationary, right? A whole bunch of jobs available means a very hot economy, and that means that employers are going to end up paying more for their employees, and then that is inflationary. It's more expensive our labor becomes more expensive, and that is inflationary because those costs carry over to all the goods and services. So if these are dropping, then we are probably expecting less inflation, and then our bond friends are going to go nuts and keep sending this higher. We're going to hit the ceiling pretty soon. That MA200, it's really, in my opinion, going to be very tough to crack, and there has to be reason coming back into this market. We went over all the reasons why we're lifting off parabolically. That MA200 is a significant number. We're up here at a +3 ATR, and in the bonds, we don't stay there for more than 2 or 3 days. We haven't seen it. We scrolled back several years yesterday to find anything that could go beyond 3 days, and we never saw it. It's actually very rare to hit the +3 ATR Keltner channel to begin with. So the fact that we're up here is a very unusual and oversold situation. We can look over here on balance volume. You can see is super low as well. So that has to start moving upward. So far this morning, it looks like we do have upward bias in the Nasdaq. And unlike yesterday, I'm not going to expect a sharp pullback from that open. So yesterday we started way up here and we just went straight down the entire day. I don't think that's going to happen today in the S&P 500. We'll probably get much more choppy movement. But if I'm wrong and we do break down and we crack below those Friday and Monday lows again, and then crack below the previous low, which was last Thursday, then we can really start seeing some pullback in the S&P 500. I don't really expect it in the Nasdaq though, because we did bounce. And this is probably not the pullback that all these people who were also anticipating pullback. That's probably not what they're looking for. They're probably still looking for a further pullback. But for me, this is satisfactory. We came down, we hit the EMA 20. That was one of the levels that we talked about. We did get this and doji candle right here, right at the EMA 20, bounced off of it. We got the confirmation candle, and even though we were down yesterday, we stayed above that EMA 20. So this is really a bounce. This is, it might be a very mild and baby bounce. We might only go back up to this blue line or to this aqua line and then get a real pullback. But for now, this is a bounce, and we should be aligning our portfolios to the positive side. Okay, did we cover everything? I'm not going to bother with the Fed Watch tool because I already know that there's not reason happening in the bond market. And let's see, we could take a look at volatility. I don't think there's anything too interesting happening in earnings. So today after market close, Broadcom. I thought they already. Okay, so we have Broadcom that will be significant. And then tomorrow before market. Nope. So really just Broadcom, that's a tech. We'll see. I don't think it by itself is going to really move the market. It might help the XLK, it might help the tech market a little bit, but it's not really going to move the entire index. So other than that, we can take a quick look at VIX. VIX is still very low, but yesterday we did get a movement upwards. The day before we did get that green bar moving upwards. So this could be the beginning of that movement upwards that we were expecting, and we have several targets that are possible. Right now, I would only expect a very mild, only this blue line, maybe this first target, because the pullbacks that we're expecting, they've basically already happened in the Nasdaq. But this is the volatility of the S&P 500, not of the Nasdaq. I think the Nasdaq would be I forgot. I'll have to look it up later. So in the S&P 500, could we pull back down to this EMA 20? Yeah. And so that's why the VIX, we have those targets right there, but we could just chop sideways. And if we just chop sideways, that VIX really isn't going to move that much. So I really don't expect at this particular moment for us to really go beyond this blue line. I'd be surprised if we even hit that first green target, but it's possible. If we pull back to that EMA 20, then yeah, we could hit that first target. I'm not really seeing any reason for us to pull back even further than that right now. Everything has been subdued, everything's been quiet. That could change on Friday with the employment situation. This is only comes out once a month, and this is a pretty major report. So that could bring some volatility, that could bring some volume finally back into the market. But for now, we can only guess. The volume has been muted all month. It's been muted for the last half of November. So we'll see how we end up into the rest of the year. For now, in day trading, again, I'm not expecting it to be super directional today. I could totally be wrong. that's just my current feel for the market. And again, if we break down, it's most likely to downside, and then we would really want to see a break below this previous low, though, for us to really think that the market is going to go directional. So that's it for today. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful trading session, and I will see you in the aftermarket.